Keir Starmer, Britain's most unpopular Prime Minister, fell so fast. Liverpool, England. Just a year ago, Keir Starmer led the Labour Party to one of the biggest election wins seen in Britain this century, crushing the long-ruling Conservatives and ending their 14 years in power. But now, only 15 months later, Starmer holds an unwanted record. He is officially the most unpopular Prime Minister in modern British history. According to a major IPSOS poll, only 13% of voters say they're happy with Starmer's performance, while 79% are dissatisfied. That makes him less popular than any of his predecessors, even those who led Britain through disastrous wars, mishandled pandemics, or pushed the economy to the brink. Political expert John Curtis, one of the country's most respected pollsters, said Labour has seen the biggest drop in public support ever recorded for a newly elected government. But he isn't shocked. Britain's voting system gave Labour about 2/3 of Parliament's seats, even though they received only 1/3 of the total votes. And when you include low turnout, Curtis estimates that only 1 in 5 Britons actually voted for Starmer's party. As landslides go, he said, this one was loveless. Since that massive win, things have only gone downhill. Labour's support has crashed to around 20%, while the new right-wing party Reform UK, led by populist figure Nigel Farage, has surged to about 35%, roughly the same share Labour had when it took power. Many inside the Labour Party now worry they could lose by a similar margin in the next general election, set for 2029. That growing fear hung heavily over Labour's annual conference this week in Liverpool, where lawmakers and party members gathered to discuss what went wrong. Across the country, voters seem to be losing patience with Labour's promises and losing confidence in the man at the top. To most people, Keir Starmer still feels like a mystery. He once told an interviewer that he doesn't dream and admitted he doesn't have a favourite novel. Unlike other prime ministers who decorate their offices with pictures of political heroes, Starmer says he doesn't really have one. He built his image as a practical, no-nonsense leader, someone focused on results instead of ideology. But Curtis says that approach has backfired. Without any clear set of beliefs or signature vision, Starmerism, as people jokingly call it, doesn't seem to exist. The mystery of Keir Starmer. Who is he? What does he believe in? We're about 2/3 into the story, but we still don't know where it's going, Curtis said. During his speech in Liverpool, Starmer urged Britain to choose decency over division, trying to rally support around unity. But even some in his own party say that message feels empty without real progress or passion behind it. The original problem. When Labour took office, Britain was in bad shape after 14 years under Conservative governments. Public services were struggling. The National Health Service had record-long waiting lists, prisons were overcrowded, and roads, railways, and housing were crumbling. Many voters supported Labour because they believed the party could rebuild what was broken. But before even entering government, Labour made things harder for itself. According to Chris Mullin, a former Labour MP, the Conservatives set a trap before leaving power. Knowing they were going to lose the election, they cut taxes, leaving behind a big hole in the national budget. That forced Labour to find ways to raise money once it took office. However, Starmer wanted to avoid the old stereotype that Labour is always the party that always raises taxes. So he ruled out increasing income tax, which is one of the biggest sources of revenue for the government. From that moment on, they were doomed, Mullin told CNN. Instead of making a strong case for why higher taxes could fund better services, Labour ended up scrambling for smaller, unpopular ways to bring in money. That choice, Mullin said, set the stage for frustration and disappointment. One Labour MP, speaking anonymously, said Starmer missed a key opportunity to set out a vision for the country early on, and since then he struggled to connect the dots between his different policies. Pollsters agree. Luke Trial, director of the non-profit More in Common, said voters see Labour's economic decisions as random and unfair. For example, last year the government announced plans to end a winter energy subsidy that helped elderly citizens with heating bills and to cut benefits for some disabled people. After public outrage, both policies were reversed. Those blunders not only angered voters, but also shook confidence in Labour's financial management. Investors and bond markets began doubting whether the government could handle Britain's debt. That pushed up long-term borrowing costs and slowed down business investment even more. Trial said Labour's leaders made a mistake assuming the public would treat their first year in power as a fresh start. Instead, many Britons feel like they've been hearing the same story for years. We have to make tough choices now, and things will get better later. Only nothing ever seems to improve. In focus groups, voters used to describe Starmer as boring. Now the words they use most often are weak and useless.
A fight for the soul of Britain. Into the growing political vacuum stepped Nigel Farage, the loud and confident leader of Reform UK, who built his reputation pushing for Britain's exit from the European Union. Farage's fiery, aggressive style stands in sharp contrast to Starmer's calm, lawyer-like approach, and that difference has worked in his favor. Farage has repeatedly attacked Labour for failing to control illegal immigration. Each year, tens of thousands of people arrive on England's southern coast in small boats, seeking asylum. Many end up stuck in legal limbo, living for months in hotels while their applications are processed. Trying to stop voters from drifting toward Reform UK, Starmer's government began taking a tougher stance on immigration. He frequently posted online about new efforts to stop small boat crossings and warned that Britain could become an island of strangers if the problem wasn't addressed. Critics accused him of copying Farage's harsh language and warned that he was pushing Labour too far to the right, risking the loss of support from younger and more progressive voters. The immigration debate exploded this past summer. Violent protests broke out outside hotels housing asylum seekers. Soon after, more than 100,000 people joined a huge anti-immigration march in London, where billionaire Elon Musk addressed the crowd, saying, "You either fight back or die." Peter Hyman, a former advisor to Starmer, called that march a turning point. He said it showed the urgent need for Labour to draw clearer lines between its values and Reform UK's nationalist message. At the Labour conference, Starmer warned that Britain was in a fight for the soul of our country. Britain stands at a crossroads, he said. We can choose decency or we can choose division. Shabana Mahmood, the new Home Secretary, echoed that warning. She said Farage and his followers were twisting patriotism, something good and uniting, into something darker, something closer to ethnic nationalism. Mahmood, who is British and Muslim with Pakistani heritage, said some people still refuse to believe that someone like her can truly be English or British. She urged citizens to believe in a greater Britain, not a smaller England. Despite the tension, there was some optimism inside the conference hall. Labour members felt that Reform UK had finally gone too far. Just the week before, the party had pledged to abolish indefinite leave to remain, or ILR, a key status that allows long-term immigrants to live permanently in the UK. Starmer quickly condemned that idea as racist, earning loud applause from Labour supporters. Yet critics were quick to point out contradictions in his own policies. Shortly after calling Reform's proposal discriminatory, Mahmood announced Labour's plan to double the waiting time for ILR from 5 years to 10 years, a move that left many questioning how Labour could call one policy racist while introducing something very similar. Mahmood defended the change by saying Labour wanted to ensure immigration was fair, firm, and managed. But opponents argued it blurred the moral line between Labour and Reform, confusing voters about what either party really stood for. Renewal or revolution? When Labour campaigned last year, it told voters it would take 2 full terms, about 10 years, to rebuild the country. Despite grim polling numbers, party leaders insist that they are making progress, especially on the world stage. Starmer supporters point to improvements in Britain's relationship with Europe, saying he has helped repair ties that were badly damaged during the Brexit years. Richard Hermer, the Attorney General, highlighted a new one-in, one-out agreement that allows Britain to return illegal migrants to France, proof, he said, that the UK is again keeping its international promises instead of breaking them, as it sometimes did under Conservative rule. At home, Labour argues that its long-term plans like building 1.5 million homes and modernizing the tax system will take time to show results. Officials admit progress will be slow, but they believe the eventual payoff will be worth it. In defense matters, Labour ministers say the growing threat from Russia has pushed Europe to spend more on defense, which could also help stimulate the economy. Luke Pollard, the Minister for Defense Procurement, said the effort to make Britain ready for war could create what he called a defense dividend, similar to the economic boom seen after World War II, when rebuilding and rearming boosted growth. Throughout the conference, one message was repeated again and again. If Labour can improve people's living standards, the anger fueling Reform UK will fade. Many within the party believe that by the time the 2029 election arrives, if wages rise and life feels easier, voters won't risk rolling the dice on Farage's populist promises. Still, for now, Starmer faces an uphill battle. His image as a careful, responsible leader hasn't been enough to inspire hope or trust. And unless he finds a way to connect emotionally with voters, to show them not just what he plans to do, but who he really is, the title of Britain's most unpopular Prime Minister may follow him for years to come.